Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now, I've never really been a fan of wireless audio. Up until a couple of years ago, all of my headphones had a cable attached. But I realised that remotely connecting headphones does have its benefits in some situations. So in 2019, I gave in and I bought my first entry-level Bluetooth headphones, and it's these. The Anker AK-A34-10011. Yes, it's a catchy little name. Now, these have given me years of great service, but they have a few little problems. Firstly, well, it's this wire. You see, it's used to sync the two speaker drivers and to keep the cost down to less than £20. So I understand why they employed this method, but it does get in the way now and again. Secondly, it's the gain and the bass response. Both are not really that good. I mean, the clarity is there, that's great, but the bass response is not, and you really have to turn the volume up to get any output at all. And finally, we have the real reason I started to look for something. And that was simply that they started to randomly either not connect or disconnect whilst on Bluetooth. And when this happened, I'd have to switch them off and switch them back on a number of times before they made a sync. Don't get me wrong, they do still work, but they've just started to become a bit unreliable. So I started to vaguely look around for something else, something that showed up a real step up in quality and audio response, but not a huge step up in cost, because I certainly wasn't going to pay the earth for the privilege of that convenience. Then in early July, I saw this article from What Hi-Fi magazine, which essentially said that if you're looking for new wireless headphones or earphones or whatever you want to call them, then you really need to strongly consider buying these earbuds, because they've just been reduced in price and basically you're not going to get anything better for that price. So I did something I would never normally do, and I bought them straight away and I didn't do any more research. So now I've had them for a couple of months now. Let's get on with the review of the Cambridge Audio Melomania 1 Plus wireless in-ear monitors. Now, let's start with the box. And as you would expect for a high-end audio company, it's well designed and it's closed using a magnet. Inside, well, let's get everything out on the table first and have a look. So we'll start with the bottom, left to right. You get a little hints and tips sheet, a customer satisfaction sheet, the inevitable health and safety document, and a guide to some of the other Cambridge Audio products and innovations around, all of which I'd probably never be able to afford to own. Next, we've got a card showing the sequence of button pushing that you need to remember, and I'll talk about this more later. We've got a quick start guide, a pack of tips for the earbuds, and again, I'll talk to you more about this later. And finally, we've got a very short USB-C cable. You know, are we not at the stage where we don't need to send USB cables with everything? I mean, I've got hundreds of them, all sizes, in a box, and getting yet another one is just a waste. And this one, well, it's really too small to be any of use, really. I guess now is not the time to have that discussion. Anyway, finally we have the two earbuds and the little carry case. So let's start with the case, and it's not just a well-designed solution for carrying around your earbuds, it's actually how charging the earbuds works. The case is actually a small power bank. It has a 700 mAh battery in it, and you charge this via the USB-C port on the side. You can see the state of the charge of the case by viewing the 5 little white LEDs on the front. When you open the lid, they all illuminate. Now, you can charge the case with or without the earbuds in it, but if you do charge them with the earbuds in, it actually does pass-through charging, and it means that the earbuds get charged whilst the case battery is also being charged. That is a nice little touch. You know the buds are charging when the white LEDs on the top of them are fading in and out, as you can see here. And of course, if the carry case is charged up, anytime you put the earbuds in it, they will start charging from the power bank, and so they are always at 100% state of charge when you want to use them. Okay, so that's the charging out of the way. That only leaves us with how to connect these earbuds to an audio device and start listening to some music. Now, like most of these style of earphones, they're primarily designed at music on the move. So they prioritize connecting to an Android and iOS device first. There's also an app, which you can use to alter certain parameters. But don't worry, you can use these with any Bluetooth sound source, and I'll show you this later. For now, however, let's get connected to a phone. Now, I'll be showing you how to use them with an Android phone because I don't have an iOS device, but most of this will be identical in both versions, apart from the Bluetooth pairing, which will obviously be operating system specific. So, to start the Bluetooth connection process, you need to long press one of the buttons located in either end of the left or right earbud until the lights alternate between blue and white. You'll also hear the phrase, "waiting to pair," spoken in a wonderful received pronunciation accent. How very British. After it's in the pairing mode, you'll need to locate the Bluetooth pairing section on your phone, and you'll see both of the earbuds appear here. Although you see both and right earbuds, you only need to initiate the pairing process on one of them, and the other should sync and pair automatically. At this point, you'll hear the phrase Melomania paired, Melomania connected to confirm this. Now, all of that is done. We're going to start looking at the Melomania app. You'll need to download it from the Apple Store or the Play Store, depending on your mobile operating system. As soon as you tap on the app for the first time, it will attempt to locate your Melomania earpieces. And if you try and run the app when you haven't paired the earbuds, or they've previously been paired but are snugly put away in their case and therefore powered down, well, you'll get a message that they can't be located, and you'll be offered multiple options such as a tutorial for pairing, a link to the Cambridge Audio technical support site, and functionality to find your earphones. Now, the latter option is supposed to use location services of your device to record the last place where they were connected. But I must say, it's never worked for me. Then again, I may have location services turned off on my phone. So in this case, it might be a problem only for me. Finally, once you've rectified the issue, you can try again. You should then see your earbuds on the screen along with the current battery level for each bud. Now, let's have a quick look at the menu items starting from right to left. Starting with More, this section is basically a list of links to register the earbuds warranty, gain technical support, give feedback to Cambridge Audio, and to allow you to read the online user guide and privacy policy, etc. The Settings option will give you a log on to your Cambridge Audio account, provide a place to update the earbuds firmware, give you an option to switch codecs between ACC and aptX, or both. Personally, I just keep both of them on. You also get the option of changing the voice guidance language. Remember when I said that the pairing spoke to you in this wonderful received pronunciation accent? Well, this is where you get to change that. There is an option to alter what functions are available to you via the buttons on the side of the earbuds, or switch that functionality off completely. And finally, in this section, you can change the power utilization of the earbuds to extend the battery life a little more. Now, we move to the equalizer menu option, and this is one of the main selling points for the Melomania One Plus. This option gives you the opportunity to effectively design the frequency response of your earbuds. Yes, there are some presets, and we've all seen those before, but what Cambridge Audio allows you to do is to draw out in the app what frequencies suit your listening preference, and you can save up to 3 of these self-designed frequency maps in the app and switch between them in real time. Now obviously, if you decide to use the Melomania One Plus on other Bluetooth devices, you won't have the option to switch between these profiles in real time, because you simply won't have the app available. But the last chosen frequency profile is downloaded straight to the earbuds, and that means it's maintained no matter what you're connected to. Okay, so now you've paired the Melomania One Plus with its primary device, which is all well and good. but you'll probably want to use these earbuds with other Bluetooth devices, so in this section we'll go through pairing with macOS, Windows and Linux, and we'll see how we get on with those. Let's start with pairing to macOS. Specifically, in this case, it's version 12.5.1, and like we'll do with all of these tests, we'll start by taking both of the buds out of the charging case and start the pairing procedure, which is the same as earlier. It's a long press on the button on either of the two buds. It doesn't matter which, and then you wait for the blue and white alternating LEDs to start flashing. Now, if you go to the Bluetooth section of System Preferences on the Mac, one of the buds will appear with a Connect button next to it, so we'll press that. And that will start the pairing and registration process. Once the bud is paired, the voice confirms this. Then we'll get a connection request pop-up from the other bud, so we'll need to press connect on this also, so they can both sync together. Finally, you will see both the left and right Melomania buds under the Devices Registered section, and you should be able to start playing audio straight away. Now, when I first registered the buds on my M1 powered Mac, the quality of audio playback wasn't great, and I did need to restart the Mac to get the full quality of audio that I expected. I have since read that this was an issue with the version of macOS running under the M1 processor, so it isn't directly related to the Melomania product, but it is something to keep in mind if you do get this issue. Right, it's Windows next, and for this we just need to search for Bluetooth in the search option in the taskbar. Yes, there is probably other ways of doing this, but I haven't used Windows in such a long time, and everything I once knew has long since dissipated from the brain. If there is another easier way of getting to the Bluetooth options other than this, just use that method. Then once you're on the Bluetooth and other devices page, firstly ensure that the Bluetooth option is switched on. It wasn't with me, but by default I think it normally is. Again, take both buds out of the case and long press one of the central buttons. Once again, the waiting to pair message and the LEDs flash to confirm this. Click to add other Bluetooth or other devices. Then choose the Bluetooth, mice, keyboards, pens or audio option right at the top. The Melomania bud should appear on the screen, so just click it. You'll then probably get a message saying it's setting up and another to say when the device is ready. Now, at this point, I also had to long press the other earbud as well, and it popped up with another message to allow this to pair. If this happens to you, just click Allow. Windows should now be ready to play music to your Melomania earphones. Finally, we'll connect the Melomania One Plus to Linux. And I understand that not many people will be using Linux to play music from, but I'm doing this for the sake of completeness and for the fact that while I'm still alive, I'll always consider Linux in the demos. Now, for this demo, I'll be using Fedora, and to get to the Bluetooth settings in there, it's a case of finding the settings option, which I have handily on the dock on the right hand side here, and then choose the Bluetooth option. As you can see, it's already searching for Bluetooth devices by default. So let's do the same as we've done before. Take the buds out of the charging dock, long press the button, you'll hear the phrase waiting to pair in your ear, see the blue and white lights and the device will appear in front of you. Click on it and it should pair and sync with the other bud automatically. Now for Linux there is one additional step you will need to check because as always Linux gives everyone the maximum amount of options. Go to the sound settings and scroll down to the output configuration. You will have loads of options to choose from here. Just remember that the Melomania devices support aptX and AAC or SBC codecs, so just choose one of the high fidelity playback options which has the correct codec. I'm happy with the SBC XQ option. Don't use any of the headset head unit options as all you will hear is white noise. So the quality of audio is comparable to anything else we've dealt with in this video, but I did notice occasionally when watching YouTube videos that the audio was slightly out of sync with the video. Now I don't know where the fault for this lies, but I could always rectify it by choosing another audio option from the drop-down in the sound settings menu. Since I bought these Melomania 1 Plus, I've read a number of reviews for other in-ear monitors, and one question keeps reoccurring. Are they noise cancelling? The inference being that if they don't have noise cancellation technology, we should forget about them. Well, I can tell you that Melomania 1 Plus aren't noise cancelling. So that's it, I guess. I'll just finish this review here. I mean, there's no point in going on, is there really? Well, of course, that's absolute rubbish, because it's one thing having noise cancellation systems built in, but it's quite another to make them good, and I can tell you now that most of these noise cancelling earbuds will not be of a great standard. Also, the very act of noise cancellation uses power, so these teeny weeny batteries would need to power the Bluetooth transmissions and the noise cancellation processing, which is continuous. So Cambridge Audio have decided to focus on making the Melomania earbuds as comfortable as possible, and to give you the maximum amount of options to make the earbud tips, yes, those little squishy rubbery things, make them seal out as much of the external noise as possible. And in order to do that, they give you lots of options and a guide of how best to choose the right tip for you. So that's a small, medium and large tips in both silicon and memory foam, and believe me, take a little bit of time and find the correct ones for you. They shouldn't put pressure on your inner ear, but they should give a good seal. Now I chose the large memory foam tips, and I can honestly say that they are really comfortable, and I've never had the feeling that they would drop out. One downside with the memory foam tips is that they will wear down quicker than the silicone ones, but you can buy additional tips when needed. And as for excluding external noise, well, the amount of times my wife has been in the other room and ended up shouting at the top of her voice before I had even any inkling that she was trying to attract my attention would suggest they're doing a pretty good job on that front. Although my wife hates them for that very reason. Right, so we've unboxed, connected, and now we've got one last thing to do before we go into the sound. And I have to cover it here because if I don't, there will be comments left. I'm talking about the microphones. Now, I have a loathing of microphones in these things. Now, let me be clear, it's not a Cambridge Audio issue. If they were made by Bose or Sony or Shure or Apple, I'd level the same criticisms at them. Why? Well, because if you're going to put microphones next to your ears, they're going to be pretty rubbish at picking up just the noise emanating from your mouth. To do that, these microphones will need to be omnidirectional. And if they're omnidirectional, they're picking up everything from around you, all over here, not just from your mouth. And that includes your noisy colleagues at work. So they're okay for the odd phone call, but if you insist on using these or any similar devices to make daily online calls at work, then your colleagues will all hate you. Now, I've done a full video on my views of this, so I'll link to that in the comments and in the top right. Anyway, for the sake of completeness, this whole section has been recorded on the microphones of the Melomania 1 Plus, so now you all know what that sounds like. Now, this is normally the point in my videos where I set up my trusty Zoom recorder, point it at the speakers and go through a range of soft and loud audio, a range of classical and pop music with a bit of speech radio thrown in for good measure, just so you can all hear what I hear. But for obvious reasons, I can't really do that sort of thing in this case. I just don't have the equipment to accurately represent what is coming out of these little graphene drivers and into my ears. So I'm going to have to use the power of words and describe it all to you. So here goes. These little things have seriously changed the way I think of headphones, and more importantly, the way I think of Bluetooth audio. On the default settings, they give a lovely natural flat response between the ranges of human hearing without much artificial coloration. But the real joy is when you go into the app and change the frequency response to meet the needs of and your listening preferences. See, I have mine mostly set to a big frequency scoop with a high bottom end and a high top end, and in the middle frequencies they drop down and have this little bed in the middle. In this configuration, the whole sound opens up and sparkles. If you're listening to something as complex as an orchestra, well, you'll really notice the timpani thundering at one end and the Glockenspiel and Celeste at the other end, tinkling like audio equivalent of stars in the sky. And the strings and horns provide this lush backdrop in the middle. If you're listening to rock or electronic music, then the bass and drums display a new found of urgency, while the upper mids and highs show a power which many other more professional and, dare I say, more expensive products would struggle to reproduce. And don't worry, I'm going to get on to the price in a bit. So now I should temper my obvious enthusiasm and bring some sort of balance to this review, because it's not all good. Firstly, well, if you don't like earbuds over standard headphones, well, there's really nothing for you here. Your mind is already made up. But then so is mine. You see, the execution really isn't anywhere near as bad as they look aesthetically, especially with these, as they are quite subtle. It's not as obvious as, say, the Apple equivalent. If you choose the correct size tip for your ears, then they're pretty comfortable as well, and under normal circumstances, I can't see how these would actually fall out. Secondly, the buds are quite a snug fit in the dock. Now this is by design, so they make a true connection with the contacts and charging is more reliable as a result. But on a couple of occasions, it's meant that the tip of one of the buds has come out in the dock when I've taken them out, which meant that I've had to fish around inside to get it out. And finally, well, you do have to get used to the controls of operation. You see, there's only a single button in the center of each bud, so you have to remember the combination of long and short presses to carry out various operations. But even that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, so you quickly get used to it. And now we come to the real reason I bought these and the real reason I'm reviewing them at all, and that's the price. You see, if I was given these earbuds and wasn't told the origin and then you told me they cost £200, I would probably say, yeah, I could well believe that. The quality and the sound reproduction is definitely there for that level of price. But they're not £200. The manufacturer's recommended retail price is a smidge under £120, so that sounds really great news. And it is. Except you're not even going to have to pay that. You see, since June or July this year, Cambridge Audio have been selling these for less than £50, and at that price, let's be honest, there is nothing, absolutely nothing on sale at the moment that will touch them. So if you're looking for Bluetooth headphones or earphones, you could do a lot worse than choosing the Melomania 1 Plus. Anyway, that's all for now. I hope it's been useful and given you some enlightenment if you're looking for Bluetooth audio solutions. But until next time, take care and thanks for watching.